The MH-60 Blackhawk roared through the ash-laden skies above the Iron Veil, a desolate range of iron-rich cliffs and toxic mists in the northern reaches of the Bering Sea. The helicopter's blades thumped against the howling wind, its hull battered by gusts carrying the acrid scent of sulfur. Captain Lena Wraith Voss gripped her harness, her steel-gray eyes scanning the faces of her team. 7 operatives from the elite Phantom Legion, their expressions carved with focus. Lena had led missions in jungles, deserts, and urban sprawls, but this op was different. Their objective? Secure a stolen antimatter core from a rogue research outpost before it could be weaponized. The stakes were cataclysmic. One misstep could unleash destruction on a global scale. The radio crackled, the pilot's voice cutting through static. Hostile signatures on radar. Ground fire incoming? Lena's instincts flared. She'd trained her team for chaos, but the Iron Veil was a beast of its own. Jagged cliffs, unstable ground, and air that burned the lungs. The Blackhawks shuddered as anti-aircraft rounds streaked past, their trails glowing faintly in the mist. Her team checked their gear, rifles locked, harnesses tight. Then came the explosion. A missile slammed into the tail rotor, sending the chopper into a violent spin. Alarms blared and the cabin became a maelstrom of shouts and grinding metal. Lena's harness bit into her chest, but she felt a subtle give, tampered, she realized too late. Before she could react, the side door tore open, and the toxic wind yanked her into the void. The fall was a nightmare of ash and cold. The Iron Veil's cliffs rushed up, their iron-red edges glinting like bloodied blades. Lena's Phantom Legion training kicked in, her body twisting midair to aim for a narrow ledge of loose shale. The wind roared, sulfur stinging her face like shards of glass. Her team's cries, "Voss!" faded into the gale as the Blackhawk spiraled away, trailing smoke. She hit the ledge hard, pain exploding through her left hip and ribs. She skidded, rocks tearing at her gear until she slammed into a jagged outcrop. Her vision blurred, but she forced herself to breathe, to assess. Alive. Broken, bleeding, but alive. The Iron Veil was a death trap. Unstable cliffs, toxic fumes, and enemy drones patrolling the skies. Lena checked her gear. Her rifle was intact, but her radio was a mangled wreck. Her hip throbbed, a fracture likely, but she could move. She tore strips from her jacket, binding her injuries tightly, and scavenged her pack. A knife, a half-empty canteen, and a single chemical flare. The outpost was somewhere in this hellscape. Her team likely stranded nearby. Command would list her KIA. Lena refused to let that be her story. She whispered the Phantom Legion creed, "In shadow, we endure. In death, we rise." It anchored her against the creeping despair. The Veil was a killer, but she was forged for this. Moving cautiously, she navigated the jagged terrain, avoiding fissures where toxic gas hissed. The air seared her lungs, but she pressed on, her senses razor-sharp. Faint drone hums echoed. Mercenaries, likely hired by the rogue scientists to protect the antimatter core. They'd be hunting survivors. Shelter was her first priority. Lena found a shallow cave, its walls slick with iron oxide. She patched her wounds with gauze from her medkit, using ash to staunch bleeding where supplies ran short. Hunger clawed at her, but she ignored it. Her mind was her weapon, calculating every move. She carved a small vent to filter toxic air, her knife scraping against rock. The faint warmth from geothermal heat kept hypothermia at bay, but rest was a luxury she couldn't afford. Days blurred into a relentless grind. Lena became a wraith, moving at twilight when mist obscured drone sensors. She scavenged what she could. Lichen from stable rocks, water trapped in hollows, filtered through her torn scarf. Every step was a gamble. One misstep could send her into a gas vent or alert the enemy. She studied the mercenaries' patterns. Drone sweeps at predictable intervals, ground patrols sticking to stable paths. Using the terrain, cliffs, ash drifts, and shadowed crevices, she stayed invisible, crawling through shale and hugging iron-red walls. Her mind was a battlefield of strategy. She mapped the Veil mentally, noting safe routes and choke points. The outpost was her goal, but her team's survival was her duty. The sabotaged harness haunted her. Betrayal, sabotage, she cataloged every detail. The loose clip, the mission's rushed prep, but pushed speculation aside. Survival demanded clarity. She whispered her creed again, a mantra against despair. By the third day, Lena's presence became a rumor. Mercenaries spoke of a wraith in the Veil, a shadow disabling drones with precise shots and vanishing into the mist. She rigged traps, rockfalls to block paths, flares to misdirect drones, sowing chaos without breaking cover. Their paranoia grew, patrols hesitating at every shadow. Lena used their fear, striking silently to steal rations or sabotage comms. Each act was calculated, her training a lifeline in the chaos. On the fifth night, she spotted a faint glow in a narrow valley. Her team holed up in a makeshift camp surrounded by mercenaries. They were alive, battered but fighting, their faces etched with defiance. Lena's heart surged, but her mind stayed cold, tactical. The outpost was nearby, guarded by a fortified complex. She'd need to free her team and secure the core. Failure meant a weapon capable of leveling cities. The stakes were apocalyptic. Her plan was audacious. The mercenaries' outpost relied on drone surveillance, but their ground defenses were thin. Lena moved like a phantom, using mist for cover. She neutralized a drone with a scavenged EMP pulse from her medkit's battery, then slipped past sentries, her knife silent and precise. She rigged distractions, small fires, scattered gear, to draw attention away from her team. At the camp's edge, she signaled with her flare's faint pulse. Her second-in-command, Sergeant Diaz, stared in disbelief. "Wraith, you're alive?" She gave a sharp nod. No time for sentiment. Lena led them through the Veil, navigating fissures and ash drifts with surgical precision. The mercenaries were disoriented, chasing her diversions. When a patrol blocked their path, she triggered a controlled rock slide, scattering them. She took out 2 with her silenced pistol, her shot swallowed by the volcanic rumble. Her team moved like a single organism, their trust in her absolute. Phantom Legion didn't break. They adapted. The outpost loomed ahead, a concrete fortress nestled in a crater. Lena's plan was ruthless. Disable their comms, isolate their forces, and secure the core. She sabotaged their radio hub with a makeshift explosive from scavenged drone parts, sparking chaos. As the enemy scrambled, she guided her team through a hidden lava tube, avoiding the crater's rim. Every step was treacherous, the heat searing, but Lena's focus was unbreakable. She was their shield, their guide. The crater's edge glowed faintly, the outpost's lights cutting through the Iron Veil's toxic mist. Lena, Wraith Voss crouched low, her team huddled behind her, their breaths shallow from the searing air. Her hip throbbed, her ribs ached, but her mind was a blade, sharp, precise, unyielding. The antimatter core was inside the outpost, guarded by mercenaries and automated defenses. Her team, 7 operatives battered but resolute, relied on her to lead them through this hell. The Blackhawk's crash, her fall, the days of survival in the Veil, all led to this moment. Failure meant a weapon that could erase nations. Lena scanned the outpost. Drones patrolled in tight patterns, their sensors sweeping for heat signatures. Ground troops guarded key entrances, their movements predictable but deadly. She'd already sown chaos, disabled comms, misdirected patrols, but the core was heavily fortified. Her team's faces were gaunt, their eyes fierce with trust. Sergeant Diaz whispered, "What's the play, Wraith?" Lena's lips twitched, not a smile but a signal of resolve. "We strike like ghosts, in and out. No trace." Her plan was surgical. The outpost's defenses relied on automation, but their human element was sloppy. Lena assigned roles. Diaz and 2 others would create diversions, drawing drones to the eastern perimeter. The rest would follow her to infiltrate the core's chamber. She'd neutralize internal security, secure the core, and clear an extraction path. The rescue chopper was 30 minutes out, assuming they survived that long. Every second counted. Lena moved first, a shadow in the mist. She slipped past a drone's sensor arc, her movements fluid despite the pain in her hip. Using a scavenged EMP pulse, she disabled a second drone, its lights flickering out as it crashed into a cliff. The team followed, silent, their training mirroring her precision. At the outpost's edge, Lena rigged a chemical flare to mimic a heat signature, luring a patrol away. The gap was narrow, but enough. She signaled, and they breached the perimeter. Inside, the outpost was a maze of steel corridors and humming machinery. The air was thick with the tang of ozone, the antimatter core's containment field nearby. Lena's team moved like a single organism, covering angles, checking corners. A guard appeared. Lena's knife flashed, silent and lethal, dropping him before he could raise an alarm. She dragged the body into a shadowed alcove, her eyes scanning for cameras. The pain in her ribs was a distant hum, irrelevant. The mission was everything. They reached the core's chamber, a fortified vault with automated turrets and biometric locks. Lena's mind raced, calculating. She'd trained for this, bypassing security under pressure, turning the enemy's tools against them. Using a scavenged keycard from the guard, she hacked the lock, her fingers steady despite the stakes. The turrets whirred, but she triggered a smoke grenade, clouding their sensors. "Move!" she hissed, and her team slipped inside. The antimatter core glowed faintly, a silver cylinder suspended in a magnetic field. Lena's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of what it represented. One mistake could unleash annihilation. She signaled her tech specialist, Corporal Lin, to disable the containment field. Lin worked fast, her hands a blur, while Lena and Diaz stood guard. Footsteps echoed, reinforcements. Lena's rifle snapped up, her shots precise, dropping 2 mercenaries before they could react. The rest of her team held position, their trust in her absolute. Outside, Diaz's diversion team triggered chaos, explosions from scavenged fuel canisters, drawing drones and patrols away. The outpost was in disarray, but time was running out. Lin secured the core, slipping it into a shielded case. Lena led the team out, navigating the maze as alarms blared. A mercenary squad blocked their exit, but Lena was ready. She tossed a flashbang, blinding them, and her team moved in, neutralizing the threat with surgical efficiency. Every step was a dance of survival, every shot a testament to their training. The extraction point was a rocky plateau a mile away, the only place a chopper could land in the Vale's jagged terrain. Lena guided her team through a narrow gorge, avoiding open ground where drones could spot them. The mist was their ally, but the ground shook with distant volcanic tremors, a reminder of the Vale's volatility. Her hips screamed with every step, but she ignored it. Her team was alive, the core secure. She'd get them out. A final mercenary squad guarded the plateau, backed by a heavy drone. Lena's mind worked like a battlefield computer, analyzing weaknesses. She signaled her team to hold position, then climbed a cliff face, her fingers gripping slick rock despite the pain. From above, she took out the drone's operator with a single shot, then triggered a rock slide to scatter the squad. Her team moved in, clearing the remnants with disciplined fire. The chopper's rotors thumped in the distance, a lifeline in the chaos. As the Osprey descended, Lena provided cover, her rifle picking off stragglers. Her team boarded, the core safe in Lin's hands. Diaz gripped her shoulder, his eyes fierce. "You're a damn miracle, Wraith!" Lena didn't respond, her face streaked with ash and blood. She climbed aboard last, the chopper lifting off as mercenaries fired uselessly into the mist. The Iron Vale receded below, its cliffs a smoldering testament to her survival. At base, medics swarmed her. Fractured hip, cracked ribs, chemical burns from the toxic air. Lena debriefed calmly, detailing the sabotage, her fall, the days of survival, and the rescue with clinical precision. Her commanders listened, stunned. "You turned the Vale into your domain," one said. Lena shrugged. Domains were where she thrived. Her story spread like wildfire. The Wraith of Iron Vale, a soldier who defied death, saved her team, and secured a world-altering objective. Recruits studied her tactics, her resilience. Lena cared only for her team's safety and the mission's success. Standing on the base's edge, she stared at the distant cliffs, her creed echoing. "In shadow, we endure. In death, we rise." Captain Lena Wraith Voss had faced annihilation and walked away. She wasn't just a soldier, she was a force forged in fire, unyielding, eternal.